What's up, MMA fans? Back to do part 4 of the 8-part series of the prospects of 2013. I've been super crazy busy, so it's been a while since I pumped out the third video, a couple of weeks. What I'm going to try to do here for the remaining videos is try to speed things up. I won't be going into as much detail as I've had in the past, especially when I get to the light heavyweight and heavyweight fighters. Those guys do deserve the same treatment as the previous fighters in the other videos, but I am really strapped for time and I got to get these videos pumped out quickly. So nonetheless, this video is featuring the middleweight division, and compared to the last 3 videos, the middleweight division, as far as the number of prospects out there, maybe more than any other division. But there's so many guys that are unproven. There's no video footage, very little information on them. So I basically crunched it into 20 guys. I could have went to 40 or 50, but I've crunched it down to 20. For this video this year. Maybe next year we'll have more guys to look at. But and again, for those of you that aren't familiar, of course, no Ultimate Fighter experience, no UFC experience, no Strikeforce, no Bellator. No featured fighters from Sherdog's Prospect Watch, and no featured fighters from Bloody Elbow's Prospect list. Generally, kind of trying to make a unique list of very talented prospects. So we've had some probably some can't miss prospects in the first 3 videos. I'm going to say for middleweights, we don't have the same type of can't miss prospects, but we have guys who can probably step in and be your average big show fighter. Some guys do have potential to be even better. So nonetheless, starting off the list at number 1 is Sean Strickland. 6'1", 185 pounds, just 21 years of age. Fights out of Riverside, California, USA. Kobe Jiu-Jitsu. 10-0, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. He started training at age 14, professional at 16. I believe he's a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu with solid wrestling. Good ground and pound, very athletic fighter. He has KO power to go along with submission savvy skills. His stand-up could use improving, of course. He's only another question to be his gas tank. Something we haven't been able to see a lot of, because his fights haven't typically gone that far. A couple of fights going to the distance. Still a lot of growing to do as a fighter, but nonetheless, at 21 years of age, to start his career after 10 victories, fairly impressive. His last fight was over a split decision win over, top UFC veteran Josh Bryant. Definitely won 2 rounds of that fight. There was a bit of controversy, so I think you'll see those guys rematch. Beating Bryant was a big victory. Bryant was very heavy coming into that fight, 6 pounds overweight. So, that could have been a factor. I've often wondered why the UFC didn't give Bryant another shot. He did lose in the Ultimate Fighter finale against Colin Noak, I believe. But nonetheless, decent fighter. He did get 3 victories in the house, I believe, and good wrestling. So nonetheless, that was a very big victory for Strickland. He's also had 2 knockout victories over former King of the Cage champ Brandon Hunt. If you go through his record, you'll see most of his opponents have winning records, so he hasn't fought a ton of cans. Check out some of his videos in the video links below. I'll make sure I put it in as I have in my previous videos in this prospect set for 2013. Check out Sean Strickland and the information below for some fight videos. Second guy on the list is Eugene Fadiora. 6'2", 185 pounds, 24 years of age. 12-1 as a professional, 5 knockouts, 6 submissions. I believe he was 10-0 as an amateur, which is fairly impressive. Wolverhampton, West Midlands, England. Team Supreme / Team Cabone with the likes of Paul Taylor and Thomas Golowski. This guy's interesting. He also has a law degree, so an interesting prospect. Background: he's karate. From age 10, I think, or that's when he started his karate. Started getting into kickboxing and grappling, and I believe he's been competing in MMA since the age of 17. Decent striking and underrated ground game, although he needs to improve in both areas. Good chin, as was shown in his fight against Leicester, big time. Lots of heart. and has multiple come from behind wins. He did lose to now UFC fighter and highly touted prospect Gunnar Nelson via first round submission. And I think that was a real eye opener for him. We all know what type of game Gunnar Nelson has. Looking at his record, he has beat some decent guys. He's beat 11-7 fighter Andrew Pushton, a guy that's Pushton has fought Jack Marshman, James Zikic. He's beat 4-1 Steve Watson. He's got a big come from behind win over 3-2 striker Robert Devine. And don't let that 3-2 record fool you, because Devine is a serious striker. Check out that video in the section. I'll put it below. Showed a great training perseverance to come back in that fight. He's also beat 9-4 Matt Hyman. And he's got a TK win over 11-3 Danny Mitchell. He's also beat recent tough finalist Brad Scott via strikes. And he's beat 6-2 Brent Feisland and 4-1 Dave Bellin. So, he's beat decent guys with good records. He hasn't come in and beat Cans by any means. I still believe he needs to improve. He'll tell you his striking is his forte, but I believe both striking and submission need work for him. Wrestling, of course, with takedowns, but nonetheless, at 24 years of age, with this type of record, there's lots of upside if he keeps progressing as a fighter. Check out some video links on Eugene Fadiora. Number 3 on the list, Ben Ryder. I have him at 6 foot, 185 pounds, 8-0, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, 25 years of age. Fighting out of Peru, Param, New York, USA. So kind of linked to both countries, Peru and New York. F14, Aquila is the camp. Again, his background, I believe he's from America, but he's fought the majority of his career in Peru under the Inca banner. I believe he is the light heavyweight champ. Big wrestling background in high school. At one point he wrestled at 285. League and county champ in 2005. National qualifier as a senior in high school. I think his record was 35-3. And I believe he was a Division II wrestler at the University of Pennsylvania. Of course, the strength is obviously his wrestling, but he's shown that he's got good ground and pounding and submission savvy as well. For me, the striking is a big question mark. If you look at a lot of his fights, which I will put in the information section below, excuse me, I haven't seen a ton of his striking. He seems to try to avoid that part of his game, but again, with the wrestling background, his age, his record, there's lots of potential there. He's also the co-founder of Put Them First. It's a charity to help malnourished kids, and I believe it's in Peru. So another example of a role model type guy in mixed martial arts, and we're starting to get more of those type of guys in the sport. It's growing. We take a look at his record. He's got two decision wins over Fernando de Piera, who's an 8-4 fighter out of Halo Prado Brazil Pereira. Another victory over him. 14-8 Daniel Asp, and he's got 2 TK wins over 11-6 Fernando Roca Duay. So again, he's also had a mix. He's fought some low-level opponents, but he's also fought some very experienced fighters with winning records. So, check out the video links, make your own decision, see what you guys think of him, and let me know. Nonetheless, an interesting prospect. Number 4 on the list, Scott Askham. 6'3", 185 pounds. I believe he's 24 years of age. 8-0 as a professional, 6 knockouts, 1 submission. Also, I think he's 6-2 as an amateur. Doncaster, South Yorkshire, England. Matrix MMA. Background. Let's have a look at this guy. Southpaw fighter, aggressive striker. Punching and kicking, clinch work. Lots of highlight reels of him here on YouTube. Believe he's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Competed in multiple grappling tournaments. Showed some decent ground and pound. I would like to see more of his ground game, in an MMA fight compared to his grappling matches. Highly touted prospect in the UK. He did show some areas that need improvement though in his recent big victory over Dennis Sutherland. It's a fight he definitely should have finished Sutherland in the first round. He had Sutherland hurt bad, but he appeared to gas. So I don't know if he was nervous for this fight, because it was a big step up in competition, but nonetheless, a big victory for him. He's also got if you look at some of his other fights, Split decision win over a 6-2 Abbey Jack. I believe that was an amateur fight. And also he's got a decision win over Sam Bolt. Now Sam Bolt is another fighter. I was going to include him on this video, but maybe we'll hold off until next year if he's still moving forward. Sam Bolt is 6-0 as a professional, 10-1 as an amateur, and of course that loss of his was coming to Scott Askham. He's also defeated 6-2 Kwazin Chaki. So, check out the video highlights. I'll put in the links. A couple of great videos of Scott Askham, and a guy with that size, record, and age in this division. It's a division where we definitely need some more guys, and I think he's an interesting prospect. Although I do think he showed some signs of weakness in his win over Dennis Sutherland. Next guy on the list, heading to Poland, is Krzysztof Jotko. 6'1", 185 pounds, 23 years of age, 12 wins, no losses, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions. Okinski MMA, a rather large camp for Polish standards, I believe. He won the FNMS one-night middleweight tournament, winning 2 fights in one night. He's also won the SSZC5 one-night tournament, winning 3 fights in one night. He showed well-roundedness, winning fights by decision, submission, and TKO. Still has a lot of improving to do in all areas. He was supposed to fight on the Gala 9 against a very tough 9-4 Boris Manowski, and that fight was canceled, so I don't know what he's got lined up now. Take a look at his record. Fairly significant win for him was a split decision win over 40-fight veteran Martin Zawada, a German fighter that's been in the ring with Madav, Pokrajak, Jordan Radiev, Juan Blankovic. That was a big win for him. He's defeated 5-2 Demir Hadzovic, 8-4 Thomas Kwochowicz, and 7-3 Majel Boratsky. So he does have some wins against some winning fighters. And I'm not convinced he's going to be a star, but he's the kind of guy that could get a slot in the Ultimate Fighter, or he could sign on to Bellator, that kind of stuff, right? So, it's always good to get new guys out in the mix, especially guys from Europe that doesn't get much press. So, Kristof Jotko. Number 6 on the list, a very interesting fighter, Nicolas Penzer. 6'1", 185, 23 years of age, 7-0 with 7 submissions, I believe. All submissions have come in the first round. Stuttgart, Germany, Stallion Cage, big camp with the likes of Alan Omar, another prospect that I mentioned, a few years back. Taking a look at this guy's background, BJJ brown belt, I think, at minimum. Improving striking game. If you've seen his fight against Tahar Hadbi, which is a French striker, he's got a very big fight coming up against another guy who I had on this video, but I decided to take off, Marcin Nerezutska, who's an 11-1 fighter, middleweight fighter, but I didn't like Marcin's striking. It was to the point where it turned me off so bad that I took him off the video. But he's 11-1. He's got some brutal finishes on the ground. It just really didn't have it for Marcin, but he could prove me wrong and beat Penzer for sure. But nonetheless, that's a big fight for Penzer coming up. One of these guys will get a strike on the record. Another thing about Penzer, he's competed in multiple ADC trials. He may be better suited for 170. He is fairly tall. Nowadays 6'1" is not really huge for 185 anymore. But his frame, I think he could easily fight at 170. This guy is very comfortable on the ground. There's no problem working off his back. Wrestling, we'll say his takedown defense is decent, but he doesn't mind getting put on his back. He still has a lot of improvement to do. He's still a young fighter. He's got a couple of big wins over one over 8-3 Sebastian Rich, and one over 9-6 the previous mentioned Tahar Hadbi. So a couple of decent victories against some guys that winning records. And again, check out the video link, make your own decision. Nicolas Penzer. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Alex Nahinkin, fighting out of England, Lancaster Markers MMA, 6'3", 185. The thing about him is Makhonin is 31 years of age, I think 30 to 31, and typically I don't try not to include guys that are around 30. There will be some guys in middleweights, light heavyweight, and heavyweight that are 30 or above. Typically, I try to keep it to mid to early 20s. But this guy was injured and he missed the year of fighting, and he was supposed to fight in September. I think the fight got canceled. So typically, if you haven't fought this year, I wouldn't include you, but I decided to include him. Looks very comfortable on his feet, both offensively and defensively, to go along with some decent power. He showed well-rounded skills, with the solid ground game. Uses the low kick well to set up his opponents. Likes to work from the clinch. Good ground and pound. Shows some nasty ground and pound actually. Known for fighting at a high pace. He showed a good chin in the Xavier Fokubakon fight. He survived and got the takedown and delivered some brutal ground and pound to defeat the UFC veteran. Like I said, he was supposed to have a comeback fight against Abby Jack at OMMAC 15, but whatever happened, it fell through. Taking a look at his record, and this is a video I'd recommend checking out. Xavier Fukubakon is the guy he defeated, like I mentioned, ex-UFC veteran. He's also defeated well-known Dennis Sutherland, or Densington Sutherland, Andrew Pushton. The only loss was earlier on to Asian Nietzsche, another highly touted Swedish prospect. So check out the videos. I'll put in the Fukubakon fight, and also there's another video in here called Alex Hogan MMA highlight video. Check it out, and you'll enjoy it. Number 8 on the list, Ricardo Abreu. Ribeiro Preto Sao Paulo, Brazil, 6 feet, 185 pounds, 3-0 as a professional, 2 knockouts, 1 submission, team punishment / Esporte na Vida. Team punishment guys like Tito Ortiz, Justin McCulley, amongst others. Also known as Ricardo Demente and BJJ. High level jiu-jitsu black belt. Trained Tito Ortiz, and I think he may have trained Anderson Silva possibly before as well. 2-time silver medalist at the World Championships 2010, 2009 in the black belt division. European champ in 2010. Sao Paulo state champ, black belt weight, open weight 2009. Open weight South American champ, CBJJE 2009. 2-time World Pro Cup South Brazilian trial winner in 2009 and 2010, and bronze medal in the 2004 World Cup. BJJ Novo Bueno Brazilian national championship 5 times in the brown belt division. He gained public notoriety when he defeated at the time the unbeaten Andre Galvao twice. Left the sport in 2006 until 2009 because of lack of sponsorship, which is a problem that many jiu-jitsu players face. He's had some warm-up fights against some very low-level opponents, to start his career. Basically, the 3 fighters he's fought, I believe, have a combined record of 1-5. So obviously, we need to see this guy step up, but it's good to see him get a couple of fights under his belt to get comfortable fighting in the cage. We're under MMA rules, of course. But with this guy, with this high-level jiu-jitsu, of course, he has to be included in the mix, and he's fairly young at 28, I believe he's 28, so, a guy to keep an eye out for. He's trained some of the best fighters in the world, and he is known as, top jiu-jitsu guy. So, I do have one video I'll put in the video link section. Please check him out, Ricardo Abreu. Number 9 on the list, heading back to Germany, Benjamin Brinsa, fighting out of Leipzig, Germany, 6'0", 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. He has fought both at welterweight and middleweight, so most of the sites list him at middleweight, so I decided to keep him in the middleweight video. 23 years of age, 12-0, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. The Family Fight Club background, he started boxing at age 17. I believe that at an early age he won the state championships in boxing and BJJ. He worked and trained with Olympic wrestler alternate Nico Graf, UFC veteran Peter Sabrata, European kickboxing champion Daniel Zweiner. He spent time in Thailand at Superior Samoa, I think. He's trained with Pascal Cross, or sparred with him before a little bit. Aggressive, good gas tank. He was a brawler, but he looks to be coming, transitioning into a, fairly decent MMA fighter. Again, being young. His most recent fight was a big win over Italian prospect Simone Tessari, who was 7-0 with 7 knockouts at the time. That was a significant win for him, because all of his previous opponents were, very low-level talent, losing records. So that was very significant. He proved a lot. I will put 3 videos. I'm going to try to put 3 videos in the video information section below. Check it out. Benjamin Brinsa. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this guy. Number 10 on the list, kind of a brawler, and a guy I wasn't sure if I was going to include, but I decided to because he's a star in South Africa. Jeremy Smith, 5'10", 185, 28 years of age, 8-0, 5 knockouts, 1 submission. Johannesburg, Westang, South Africa, guerrilla warfare. A star, like I mentioned, in South Africa. Maybe a bit overhyped, but he's showing an aggressive and tough style. Very game competitor, kind of a brawler. He can win fights, finish fights via KO or submission. Fairly small for heavyweight, as far as height goes, 5'10". He does have a big frame, but if this guy was, taking training to another level, I'm sure he could make it to 170 without problems. I think he began as a Thai boxer. He was 10-1-1 at age 17. He started Thai boxing, I believe, in MMA at 21. Showing some good ground and pound and clinch work. He has to improve on his wrestling for sure. But the EFC, that's the show he fights out of, and these guys really seem to keep a good grip on their fighters. They don't try not to let them go. And you'll see another example of that with one of the heavyweights I'm going to feature. But regardless, I don't know if you'll see this guy move on to the bigger scene or not. But nonetheless, the guy to check out for if you want to take a look at some entertaining stuff. If you look at his record, he's got a big win over former EFC Africa champ and 8-2 fighter Gareth McClellan with a tough 4-round submission victory. He's got a big split decision win over ex-Strike Force fighter Joe Ray, who's got wins over Chris Bang and Chad Reiner. And he's also beat 13-5 Martin Van Studen. Must have more fights on YouTube. You can check him out. He's showing him as 8-0, but I found multiple fights here on YouTube of guys that haven't showed up on his record that he's fought and beat. So I'm going to go assume and say he's got more than 8 victories. But nonetheless, I'll put a couple of decent videos up. Check him out, Jeremy Smith. The next guy I'm going to talk about. Now, this guy was rumored to have signed with the UFC a few months ago, and I checked the UFC website. It's a guy that everybody will know who he is. I certainly can't find any information on him signing with the UFC besides rumors. Wikipedia puts up note, but those guys have been around in the past. There's nothing on the UFC website, and besides forums talking, there's no other confirmation that he's there. Adam Khaliev, 5'10", 185 pounds, 28 years of age, 6-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. Chechen/Russian fighter, of course, from the independent state Chechnya, I believe. Everybody's going to know this guy from his highlight tornado heel kick knockout back, year before last. But, after that kick kind of opened the world up to this guy as far as the MMA world. And, most people just kind of wrote him off as, just a big knockout and that was it. But if you follow this guy, that was the second win at the time, I believe. And, now he's progressed. He's actually 6-0 with a couple of submission victories and a couple of decision victories. It seems like, for obvious reasons, guys are not interested in standing with him. But this guy has a huge background, and, don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the sport called Kudo. But anyways, before we get into that, like I said, improving the ground game and the gas tank, and huge background in Kudo. Among other combat sports, people will say, what is Kudo? Well, Kudo involves punching, kicking, elbowing, throws, also headbutts. You're allowed to use the gi on guys for 10 seconds. It's a, somewhat of a form of MMA. There's, like I said, Muay Thai, boxing, submission wrestling, etc. So if you haven't seen Kudo, check it out. I'll put a video section there in the area below. He won the 2011 Kudo World Cup, and he was also the Kudo World Champion in 2009. So it can be a fairly brutal sport. Like, you look at his tornado kick knockout in MMA. Well, there's some significant ones in Kudo. You'll see the same kind of knockouts, spinning back kicks, and all kinds of brutal stuff. So check it out. If we look at his record, he has defeated some guys with decent records. 7-3 Magomed Karamov. He's got a big submission victory over 10-4 Valdez Povetchevich, and he's got a submission victory over 10-4 Alexander Dortenko. So he's beaten some decent guys, right? I mean, and of course, don't forget about that brutal tornado knockout win over 13-7 Alexei Belyaev, who, by the way, has never fought again since that knockout. Definitely, if you're going to check any highlights out from this video I'm putting on, check out the videos on Adam Khaliev. Do yourself a favor. Definitely, and let me know what you think, guys. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Jake Mapes. 6'2", 190 pounds, 28 years of age, 6-0, 2 TKO, 3 submissions. American fighter out of the arena. Background, BJJ black belt under Livius Haraba. Gold medal in the super heavyweight division of the American National Jiu-Jitsu Championships, as well as the bronze in the heavyweight division at the World Championships. Worked with Damian Maia and Exan Ribeiro, so some phenomenal guys there to work with. Of course, trains and instructs at the arena. Training partners such as KJ Nunes, Joe Duarte, Frank Lester, who else? Chris Pope, John Tuck. You know, I thought at some one point Roger Huerta and Ronnie I believe those guys were in the mix there for a while. So, you know, he's definitely got some high-level training partners. And despite his big BJJ background, he's shown, you know, some good ground and pound with 2 knockout, 2 TKO victories, and also 1 submission victory that was via strike. So he's shown some brutal elbows and ground and pound, as shown against Dan Campbell. Check out that video. Decision win over 6-5 Matt Lager and 4-2 Caminini Santiago. You know, a lot of low-level competition, but you know, again, this is a guy that's transitioning into the sport, that's came from one sport to another. So it's okay to start out with some low-level opponents as long as you progress, you know, and move ahead. So check out the video links, and Jake Mapes is another interesting guy. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Yanek Bahati. 6'2", 185, 22 years of age, 4-0 as a professional with 3 knockouts, 3-0 as an amateur with 3 submissions. Arrington, West Midlands, England. Ultimate Fighting Training Center, or Ultimate Training Center. Started training judo and jeet kune do at age 15, then started training and competing in boxing. Known for his striking and KO power, is improving his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, showing decent takedowns and stays calm on the ground. He needs a lot of improvement in his jiu-jitsu and his wrestling. He showed perseverance in an amateur win over J.D. Huyton, as he got in a bad position, a bad triangle, and came back to win the fight via Kimura. He's also shown some nasty ground and pound with elbows trying to mount. Again, low-level opponents, but he's only 22. His best win came against Ben Constantine, who's defeated 8-2 Lee Kerr. So check out the videos. There's one here versus Watkins and DM Lorp that you guys will enjoy. Bahati at age 22, with his size and strength and athletic ability, is an interesting prospect. Next guy on the list is Brad Padgett. 5'9", 195 pounds, 25 years of age. You know, he can fight at light heavyweight, but I included him in the middleweight division because that's where I believe a lot of his amateur fights have taken place. 1-0 as a professional, 1 submission. 6-0 as an amateur with 3 knockouts, 3 submissions. Sherdog has him listed as Washington, USA, but you know, I think he's from Minnesota. Pretty sure he is. Norton Fighting Systems, 4-time college All-American at St. Cloud State wrestler. 4-time state placer while he was in White River High School. You know, he's shown dominant takedown control and submissions thus far in his early career. You know, probably better suited again for 170 because he's only 5'9". He's not. He doesn't have a Hector Lombard type build. You know, I think 170 would be, his wrestling definitely would be even more of a factor there. So, low level competition, but again, you know, any dominant wrestler has kind of an it factor to it. So, you have to give this guy, you know, the benefit of the doubt. Dominating fight, I'll put in the video links against John Spence. I think it was in King of the Cage. So check it out. Let me know if you think this guy's overhyped. Again, he's only got 1 professional fight. But, you know, with the wrestling background, I wanted to include him in the list. Next guy on the list is Chris Davis, 6'2", 185, 29 years of age. He may have turned 30, so again, another guy that's getting up there. Tacoma, Washington. 8-0 as a professional with 7 victories via submission. 8-2 as an amateur, I believe, with 6 submissions, 1 TKO. So that's 13 of 16 wins by submission. American top team, everyone from Hector Lombard to Thiago Alves to Bigfoot when we're talking American top team. So when it comes to coaching and training partners, he's getting it like no other. Marcelo Alonso, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He has fought at 170, and he may have been 170 his last fight, but majority of his fights are at middleweight, so I included him there. But again, another guy who's probably better suited for 170. And I decided to put him in this list, but I think he would be better suited for 170. We take a look at his record. This guy could definitely step in and fight in at least Bellator right now. He's beaten 16-11 John Kirk. Kirk fought and won in Bellator. He's beaten 13-5 Johnny Rees, who is a UFC veteran. He's beaten Strikeforce vet Chris Yee. He's beaten another Bellator vet, Derek Kennington. He's beaten 15-6 Kevin Barber. An amateur win over the Ultimate Fighter veteran Eddie Ellis. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying he's a star, but with beating those kind of guys, he at least deserves a shot. Check out the video links. You'll see a brutal omoplata victory over Derek Kennington, and you'll see his victory over John Kirk. So, Chris Davis, let me know what you guys think. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Kendrick Miree. 6'2", 185, again, 29 years of age, so starting to get up there. Atlanta, Georgia, USA. 5-0 as a professional with 1 knockout and 4 submissions. 3-0 as an amateur with 2 submissions. American top team, Atlanta. The guy has fought at light heavyweight, but recently I think he's fighting at 185 now. Big 185 fighter. Background, I got mixed feelings on this guy. There's lots and lots of publicity about him. Tons of videos here on him on YouTube, biographies and stuff. Great videos, but he started wrestling. I believe he wrestled in 2001 Michigan High School state qualifier. Saguawan All-City champ, Michigan State former champ, open tournament camp. 2002 first guy in school history to have over 100 wins. Michigan All-State wrestler, finished 7th at the Nationals that year. 2010 Jiu-Jitsu Naga tournament, first place in the beginners no-gi division at light heavyweight. Also won the Ponderosa first place in light heavyweight. Does have some amateur boxing experience. He went to college and eventually stopped wrestling, left college, and he drove truck for 5 years, I believe. So, and then he got his desire to start competing again. Wrestling is this guy's strength, but he's been improving for sure in jiu-jitsu and his striking, and he's showing some power in his striking. I'd like to see more fight videos of him. There's lots of good stuff here on YouTube with basically just highlights and interviews and stuff. So I'd like to see a couple of full fights, but definitely with his size, strength, his training partners and coaches. American top team Atlanta. I think it's Juan Canero. So I mean, definitely a guy worth looking at. Another guy that trains out of Atlanta, the American top team, I believe, is Douglas Lima. Most of his opponents are low level. And even though he's 29, he's still young in the sport because he started so late. So again, interesting guy to look at. Kendrick Murray. Check out the videos. I highly recommend looking at his biographies here on YouTube. Moving on the list, in these next few guys I'm going to zip through very quickly. Omar Akhmedov, 9-0, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. Looks like he has good wrestling, good takedown defense, solid ground game with some good ground and pound. Plus, he can work off his back. Believe he's 26 years of age and 6 feet tall, but I'm not positive on that. So if any viewers can confirm his age and his height, please let me know. Looking at his record, he's beaten 3-1 Rafael Heretic and Alexander Boyko. So he hasn't defeated any crazy cans, but he won 2 one-night tournaments, the Pro FC Grand Prix Global in 2011, winning 2 fights in one night. He's also won the Governor's Cup in St. Petersburg in 2012, winning 3 fights in one night. I do have a couple of videos you can check out of them, so cool stuff. Again, with Sambo background, but I don't have a lot of information on this guy, but check out Omar Akhmedov. Next guy on the list is a guy who's been around a long time, and I wonder why he hasn't got the Khaliev. But again, a lot of Russian fighters seem to, Recently we have got some more guys in the UFC, but now that Bellator has this big TV deal in Russia, that should help get some more guys. And we've seen quite a few fighters come from Russia to Bellator. Shlemenko and Borislav and Vidi Malakov. There's been quite a few guys coming over, so it's promising. We may see some more Russians. And actually, this guy's Bulgaria, so pardon me, but Rumen Dmitrov, 5'9", 185 pounds, 30 years of age, 13 wins, no losses, 2 draws, 1 no contest, 6 TKO, 5 submissions. Sofia, Bulgaria, Combat Sambo Club, again 30 years of age, but still unsigned, so I'm going to include him in the list. Sambo background, he won 2 bronze medals at the Combat Sambo World Championships in the 90 kilogram division. He won gold in the 2009 and also gold in the European Sambo Championships 2009 at the 82 kilogram class. The twin brother of Rosen, who was also 17-2 as a fighter. No wonder why that guy's not getting a lot of press either. Like I said, wondering for a few years, not the most exciting fighter, and hasn't beat a ton of great guys, but we're talking 15, 16 fights without a loss, plus the Sambo background. You got to give this guy a look, and let's hopefully see him step up before he decides to call it quits. Some recent opponents, and for the most part, like I mentioned, were fairly weak, but he's got a win over Miguel Cortez, 7-3, and he's beat UFC veteran and all organization veteran Shoni Carter. Check out the video section. There's a video on the best of Rumen Dmitrov. Some very decent stuff there. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Next guy I want to talk about is Krasimer Mladenov. Well, another Bulgarian fighter who I have little information on. I think he's 26, 185, 8-0 with 1 TKO, 3 submissions. I think he's from the same camp as Blago Ivanov. If you guys can find a height on this guy for me, please let me know. Again, like Rumen Dmitrov, very short fighter, probably better suited for a lower division, at the very least, 170. Sambo specialist, I think he won gold in 2010 at the European Sambo Championships, bronze the year before. Strong, compact wrestling, good ground control and ground and pound. Check out some of the slams in his videos against Dian Dinev. His record, fairly weak opponents. The only guy that's looked half decent was Savechkolin. Zaratov, who was 8-5. Again, some of these fighters from that region of the world, it's hard. We don't see a lot of them coming this way, and it's unfortunate. But and this guy, like I said, he's 8-0. I don't have a lot of information. He may not be a top-notch prospect, but definitely a guy I want to mention. And finally, the last guy for this video set is Luke Barnett. Cambridge, England. 6'6", 185, 24 years of age, 5-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, 6-1 as an amateur, I believe. Tsunami Gym with the likes of Jack Mason, John McGuire, Robbie Oliver. Also from time to time you see guys like Joaquin Hansen and Bahari, those kind of guys stop by. Started training martial arts at age 15. I think he stopped after he got the yellow belt, but he met Jack Mason at that point. He began wrestling. Grappling is definitely a strong point. He's improving the stand-up game under boxing coach Steve Whitewell. Great coaching staff when he's at that gym with the likes of Robbie Oliver, like I mentioned, John McGuire, Leo Gamera, Colm Gilleran's another guy. Momentum. I think he's a minimum blue belt in BJJ. And also it's a guy that I've made this, my list for these videos I've made, probably a month or so ago, was, late November. I just haven't had time to pump it out, but I've seen a recent video on the Ultimate Fighter 17, and I'm not positive, but it does look like Luke Barnett may be one of those guys. So, with his physique and his 6'6" and his frame and his training camp and his record, he has to improve in all areas. Definitely striking stuff, but he's worth a look. And he's got a couple of nice wins over 5-2 Lee Johnson and 5-1 Ben Collum. So there are 2 significant victories. I will put some video links up. Check it out. I do recommend it. Luke Barnett. So that does it for the middleweight class. And again, there's multiple guys I could have included, but I haven't put on the list. Still got some great videos to put out. Very excited, to do the flyweights, the heavyweights, light heavyweights, and of course the welterweight division. So we'll see. I'd like to hear some comments from you guys, and see what you think. Again, thanks for watching, and look to pump out the next video here quicker, and going to be less informative. I'm going to shorten the videos up. The further I go here, you'll see them getting shorter. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 5.